I'm Leonard Abrams, and if you've ever felt like the world turned its back on you just for doing the right thing, for giving your all, then this story will make you sit down and listen. Picture this: you've given 27 years of your life to a company, sweating, sacrificing family evenings, even your health, to keep that machine running. You're 11 days, yes, 11 days from a $94,000 retirement bonus, money that would change your life, let you chase dreams you and your partner held dear. But then a slick new manager with fancy glasses and a voice cold as ice slides a manila envelope across the table and says, "Sign this or you get nothing." Your heart stops. Plans for the future cross-country trips, days playing with grandkids gone in a flash. That's what happened to me. And today, I'm telling you how I was betrayed, how I fought back, and how I reclaimed what was mine. Stick around to the end, because I'll share a lesson everyone needs to protect themselves from corporate giants ready to crush you to save a few bucks. It all started on a rainy afternoon in Dayton, Ohio, where I worked at Iron Ridge Components for 27 years. The company made screws and metal fittings for construction, not glamorous, but steady enough to buy a modest house, put my daughter Jessica through college, and dream of a peaceful retirement with my beloved wife, Helen. Helen passed away a few years ago from cancer, and that retirement bonus was my way to honor her dreams. Buy an RV drive to the Grand Canyon. Watch sunsets over red canyons. I started at Iron Ridge at 33, fresh out of the military, with Helen pregnant with Jessica, and us needing health insurance. The warehouse job was meant to be temporary, but I stayed learning everything from machine operation to inventory management. I wrote training manuals, mentored new hires, and even helped the company survive a devastating fire in 2018. I prided myself on being the guy management could count on when things went south. Then Carson Vickery showed up. Carson, 45, was a Cincinnati guy, ex-software exec hired to modernize Iron Ridge. He strutted in with big plans, bigger opinions, and an attitude that treated folks like me, veterans from the days when the old boss sat behind a metal desk, as dead weight. His first meeting, dubbed a strategic alignment session, felt like an interrogation. Why paper logs for inventory? Why weekly safety meetings? Why not automate everything? I explained that paper logs don't crash. Weekly meetings prevent accidents, and automation's only good until the machines break and you need someone who knows the ropes to fix them. Carson smirked, but I knew he'd mentally crossed me off an old-timer resistant to change. Over the next 6 months, I watched Carson purge anyone over 50. First came early retirement packages, then performance improvement plans for people who'd done stellar work for decades. Finally, outright firings for anyone who dared question him. Felicia Tran, the HR director I'd worked with for 15 years, warned me in the parking lot, "Leonard Carson's asking a lot about your compensation package. Maybe consider retiring early." I brushed it off, thinking 27 years of loyalty would shield me. I was wrong. On a rainy Monday, Carson called me into a conference room. "We're restructuring," he said, sliding an envelope across the glass table. Inside was a termination letter, a severance offer of 6 weeks' pay, and a non-compete clause barring me from the industry for 2 years. "Sign by Friday, or you get nothing," he said. I was stunned, but kept my cool, thanked him for the opportunity, and left. That afternoon, I cleared my desk, the coffee mug Jessica gave me for Father's Day, Helen's photo from the 2015 company picnic, and a stack of safety certifications now worthless. Tommy Rodriguez, a forklift driver I'd trained, stopped by. "This ain't right, Mr. Abrams," he said. "Everyone knows you deserve that bonus." I patted his shoulder, but inside I felt like I was choking. That night I sat in my kitchen staring at the severance papers on Helen's old oak table. The silence was heavier than the storm outside. $94,000. That was the value of 27 years of loyalty to Iron Ridge. Just 11 days away, it was mine by contract. Carson had timed my firing to dodge that payout. I flipped through the employee handbook I'd helped write in 2009, landing on the retirement benefits section. There, Clause 4.7b stated, "Any employee within 30 days of qualifying for a retirement bonus couldn't be fired without just cause, and restructuring didn't qualify." Carson either didn't know this or thought I wouldn't fight. Instead of calling Jessica, now a lawyer in Chicago, I reached out to Mitchell Goldstein, my sister's son, a labor attorney in Columbus. I laid out everything: Carson, the timing, the severance offer. Mitchell listened, then said, "Don't sign anything, Uncle. Send me all the paperwork tonight." The next morning he called back, voice grave. "Carson screwed up Uncle Leonard. That handbook clause is ironclad. But there's more. I checked Iron Ridge's HR records. In the last 8 months, Carson fired 7 others, all near major pension or retirement bonuses." I was floored. George Murphy, 63, was axed 3 weeks shy of a 30-year bonus. Patricia Walsh, 58, lost her job 2 months before early retirement eligibility. 5 others had similar stories. This wasn't one firing, it was a systematic age discrimination scheme. Let me share a real story to give you perspective. In 2021, in Michigan, a 61-year-old woman named Margaret, a warehouse manager for a logistics firm, was fired 2 weeks before her $60,000 pension vested. Her tech-obsessed new boss called her role redundant. But Margaret's son, a paralegal, found a protective clause in the company's policy. With a lawyer's help, she sued for wrongful termination and won, securing her pension and compensation. Margaret's story felt like a beacon, making me think, if she could do it, so could I. Mitchell explained we could file a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, and pursue a class action lawsuit. "Uncle Leonard, this isn't just about your bonus anymore," he said. "We're fighting for everyone Carson hurt." Mitchell also uncovered a gold mine. George Murphy, a former quality control worker, had secretly recorded a conversation with Carson where Carson bluntly said, "We need less gray hair and more fresh thinking." Those words were a silver bullet, clear evidence of age discrimination. I decided to act. On Friday, instead of going to work, I drove to Mitchell's office in Columbus. We filed the EEOC complaint alleging systemic age discrimination at Iron Ridge and launched a class action suit for the 8 wrongfully fired employees. By afternoon, Mitchell called Felicia Tran. "She knows what's up," Mitchell said after hanging up. "She also knows if this goes to court, HR will look like fools or worse, complicit." Felicia asked for 24 hours to review. That weekend, Tommy Rodriguez called. "Mr. Abrams, something weird's going on," he said. "Carson held an emergency meeting yesterday, brought in lawyers from Cincinnati. Today he's shredding HR files." I told Tommy to stay cautious, but inside I knew Carson was panicking. On Sunday, Mitchell called Felicia, wanted to meet Monday morning to discuss a resolution. I put on my best suit, drove to Columbus, ready to face them. At Mitchell's office, Felicia arrived with 2 lawyers. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. "Leonard," she said, taking my hand, "what happened to you and the others wasn't company policy." Carson acted without consulting HR or legal. A lawyer chimed in, "We're prepared to offer a comprehensive settlement, including full retirement benefits and additional compensation for distress caused." Then they dropped the bombshell. Carson Vickery is no longer with Iron Ridge. He was terminated Friday night. My chest felt lighter. Carson was gone. We negotiated for 3 hours. The outcome, I got my $94,000 bonus plus interest, 2 years of withheld retirement contributions, and a formal apology. George, Patricia, and the other 6 received similar settlements. As I left the building, Mitchell clapped my shoulder. "Uncle Leonard Carson just learned old-timers like us know how to hit back." But the story didn't end there. On Tuesday, James Mitchell, the former CEO, called. "Leonard, I'm sorry. That wasn't the company we built." He revealed the board had asked him to return as interim CEO, and they wanted me to stay. I declined. It was time for real retirement. But James said something that made me proud. The company named a new policy after me, the Leonard Abrams Fair Employment Protection Policy, ensuring no one could be fired within 60 days of retirement eligibility without board approval. On Wednesday, I returned to Iron Ridge one last time to collect paperwork and my check. Felicia handed me an envelope and a small wooden plaque. "From all of us," she said. The plaque read, "Leonard Abrams, 27 years of dedication, who stood up for us all." Tommy and a few workers stopped by to shake my hand. "You did it, Mr. Abrams," Tommy said. "You got that jerk out." I smiled. "We did it, Tommy." On Thursday, I deposited 137 412s into my bank, not just the bonus Carson tried to steal, but the withheld contributions, too. I met with a financial advisor, feeling for the first time in months like I could plan a future. On Friday, George called to thank me. "Got my check, Leonard. Carson cost me 3 months of retirement, but now I'm better off than before." He was building a tree house for his grandson. That weekend, Jessica came from Chicago. We had dinner around the kitchen table where I'd once pored over Carson's papers. "Dad, I'm so proud of you," she said. Mom would be too. I thought of Helen, of the plans we'd had. "I think I'll buy that RV," I said. "Your mom always wanted to see the Grand Canyon." On Sunday, I sat on my back porch sipping a beer, watching the sunset through golden maple leaves. Somewhere, kids played, dogs barked. Carson Vickery tried to steal 27 years of my life with one meeting and an envelope. Instead, he gave me something more valuable, the belief that when you stand up for what's right, you can win. The lesson: never let anyone make you think you're not worth it. Know your rights, find allies, and fight. Because sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that define who you are. Keep watching our videos to learn how to protect yourself and hear more inspiring stories. Have you ever been treated unfairly at work? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. When I sat in my RV watching the vibrant sunset at Yellowstone with the laughter of my grandchildren echoing from the nearby grass, I thought I had achieved something monumental, not just a personal victory, but a legacy that changed how America views its workers. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. The published book, 11 Days Before Justice, the award-winning documentary, and the Retirement Benefits Protection Act were milestones I never imagined I'd reach. But as I've learned through these turbulent months, every time you think you've scaled the highest peak, another mountain appears taller and more treacherous. And sure enough, just as I was preparing to leave Yellowstone to continue my journey to Glacier National Park, a series of new dramatic and dangerous events pulled me back into the center of a storm I hadn't seen coming. It all began on a peaceful morning as I brewed coffee in the RV, the early sunlight streaming through the window illuminating Helen's photo on the table. My phone buzzed with a message from Sarah Bennett, the Wall Street Journal reporter, who had helped me expose the optimization fund. The message was brief, but made my heart race. Leonard, I just received a document from an anonymous source. It's about Iron Ridge and something much bigger than we thought. Meet me in Seattle in 3 days. Don't tell anyone. I was stunned. Another anonymous source. After the arrests of Margaret Hensley, Edward Langley, and Senator Robert Callahan, I thought every secret had been uncovered. But Sarah's urgent tone made it impossible to ignore. I called Jessica, telling her about the message. "Dad?" "I'm so worried," she said, her voice half laughing, half anxious. "You've done enough." What if this is a trap? I reassured her, promising to be careful, but deep down, I wondered if I was stepping into a game more dangerous than ever. After arranging for Jessica and the kids to meet me later in Glacier, I drove the RV through Montana to Seattle, where Sarah was waiting at a small hotel by the waterfront. Sarah, with her brown hair neatly tied back and sharp eyes, wasn't alone. Beside her was a man about 60 with silver hair, wearing a worn leather jacket, looking more like a retired professor than someone tied to corporate scandals. Sarah introduced him as Daniel Whitaker, a former auditor for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), who had retired after trying to investigate the optimization fund a decade ago. Mr. Abrams Daniel said, his voice deep and serious, "Your story has shaken people I thought were untouchable. But what you uncovered at Iron Ridge is just the tip of the iceberg. The optimization fund is backed by a coalition of politicians and major financial firms using workers' pension funds to finance political projects and covert investments." I sat down, feeling the air sucked out of the room. Daniel opened his laptop, displaying documents marked confidential. They showed that the optimization fund had funneled billions of dollars from pension funds, including Iron Ridge's, into offshore shell companies, then used the money to fund election campaigns, controversial infrastructure projects, and lobbying to weaken labor protection laws. A new name emerged: Evelyn Strauss, CEO of Vanguard Financial, a massive investment firm in New York. "Strauss is the mastermind behind it all," Daniel said. "She's not only linked to Callahan, but has ties to international banks. Leonard, you're the one person who scares her because your story has sparked a movement." "What movement?" I asked, still reeling. Sarah chimed in. "After your Senate testimony, dozens of similar lawsuits have been filed across the U.S. Older workers are demanding their rights, and the public is calling for transparency. Strauss and her allies see you as a threat. We have intel that they're planning a nationwide media campaign to discredit you." She showed me an email from a PR director detailing plans to accuse me of forging documents and colluding with Iron Ridge's competitors. They even intended to hire fake witnesses to smear me. I left the hotel with my mind spinning, realizing I had become a target of powerful people who wouldn't hesitate to destroy anyone in their way. As I stepped outside, I caught a glimpse of a man in a black suit standing at the corner staring at me. When I picked up my pace, he followed. I ducked into a nearby shop, heart pounding, and called FBI Special Agent John Kessler. "Leonard, stay put," Kessler said. "We just intercepted a plot targeting you. A group of mercenaries was hired to deal with you before you can testify in a new federal investigation." Mercenaries? Me, a guy who used to inspect screws, now hunted like a character in an action movie. In the next 48 hours, I was whisked to a safe house in suburban Seattle under FBI protection. Jessica nearly lost it when she heard. "Dad, I can't lose you," she cried over the phone. I reassured her, but inside I was scared too. I thought of Helen of the fire she said I had and told myself I couldn't stop now. In the safe house, I worked with Sarah and Daniel reviewing the documents. Daniel revealed that Evelyn Strauss wasn't just manipulating pension funds, but was tied to a secret project called Blue Horizon, a plan to use pension money to fund military tech companies supplying weapons to conflict zones without congressional oversight. One night, as I pored over the documents, I received an unmarked package left at the safe house door. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "They know where you are. Blue Horizon is the key. Be careful." My heart raced. Someone on the inside was helping me, but they were too afraid to reveal themselves. I plugged the USB into Daniel's laptop, and we found hundreds of documents related to Blue Horizon contracts with defense contractors, emails between Strauss and foreign officials, and a list of other U.S. companies beyond Iron Ridge whose pension funds were siphoned. One email from Strauss read, "Abrams must be stopped before he digs deeper. Blue Horizon cannot be exposed." I handed the USB to Kessler, who confirmed the FBI was expanding its investigation into Blue Horizon. But then another shock hit Tommy Rodriguez, called his voice frantic. "Mr. Abrams, they just found Felicia Tran unconscious in her office. They're saying it's an attack, but no one knows who's behind it. Felicia, who helped us restore the pension funds, was now in the hospital in critical condition. Kessler later confirmed she was assaulted in Iron Ridge's parking lot." "Leonard, this is a warning," he said. "They want you to know anyone connected to you is a target." Guilt weighed heavily on me. Had Felicia paid the price for helping me, I resolved that no matter the danger, I had to keep going for Felicia, Tommy, and everyone who trusted me. While Felicia fought for her life, I received another email from the anonymous source containing a recording. It was Evelyn Strauss's voice in a secret Zoom meeting saying, "Abrams is the biggest threat. If he exposes Blue Horizon, we lose everything. Do whatever it takes. Legal, illegal, I don't care." The recording was a bombshell, but releasing it would put me and my family in even greater danger. In the safe house, I met a new figure, Maya Alvarez, a former Iron Ridge employee, now working for an anti-corruption nonprofit in California. Maya, about 35, had been Felicia's assistant and left the company after suspecting Carson's financial dealings. Sarah had contacted Maya after learning she had information on Blue Horizon. "Mr. Abrams, I left Iron Ridge because I saw strange transfers to offshore accounts," Maya said. "I have a list of transactions tied to Strauss, but I was scared to go public because they threatened my family." Maya gave me a hard drive with additional evidence, including transfer receipts from Iron Ridge's pension fund to companies linked to Blue Horizon. Maya became a crucial ally, but she also brought a new perspective. Not all Iron Ridge employees supported me. "Some workers think you're sabotaging the company," she said. "They're scared of losing their jobs if it collapses." Maya's words made me realize my fight wasn't just against Strauss, but also about convincing ordinary workers I was fighting for them, not against them. I decided to organize a secret meeting with current Iron Ridge employees through Tommy. We met at an abandoned warehouse in suburban Dayton with FBI protection. About 20 workers showed up, including Miguel Hernandez, a truck driver I'd trained. "Mr. Abrams, we trust you," Miguel said. "But we're scared. If the company goes under, we lose everything." I shared about Blue Horizon, how Strauss was stealing their pension funds for illegal projects. "I don't want to destroy the company," I said. "I want to save it, and your futures." The meeting ended with a pledge they'd secretly gather more evidence from inside Iron Ridge. Right after the meeting, a media smear campaign erupted. Articles on small news sites called me an opportunist trying to ruin Iron Ridge for personal gain. A cable TV show even had an expert claim I'd forged documents in the initial lawsuit. I knew this was Strauss's work, and I decided to fight back. With Sarah and Maya's help, I held a press conference in New York inviting major outlets like the New York Times and CNN. I released Strauss's recording, exposed the truth about Blue Horizon, and called for public support for Iron Ridge's workers. The press conference was a bombshell. The recording went viral on social media, and the hashtag #StandWithAbrams trended. Protests broke out outside Vanguard Financial's headquarters in New York, with thousands of older workers holding signs, "Protect our pensions." But success came at a cost. I received a new threatening message with a photo of Jessica and my grandkids at a Chicago park taken from a distance. "Stop, or they'll pay it red." I immediately alerted Kessler, and the FBI moved Jessica and the kids to a safe location. The tension peaked when I was called to testify in a new federal hearing, this time before a committee investigating illegal financial activities. Kessler warned that Strauss might make a final move to stop me from reaching Washington, D.C. Sure enough, on the way to the airport, the FBI vehicle carrying me was intercepted by a black SUV. A brief chase ensued, but the FBI agents subdued the attacker, a mercenary hired by a security firm linked to Strauss. The federal hearing was a battle. I sat before senators' cameras trained on my face, recounting everything from Carson's manila envelope to the offshore accounts, Blue Horizon, and Evelyn Strauss's role. I spoke not just for myself, but for Felicia, Tommy, Maya, and the millions of workers whose futures were stolen. When I finished, a senator stood Mr. Abrams. "You've exposed a corrupt network threatening America's financial security. We'll use your story to pass new laws protecting workers from people like Strauss." But right after the hearing, a shock hit. Evelyn Strauss was arrested at a private airport in Miami, trying to flee to Switzerland. The FBI found she'd transferred millions to secret accounts, preparing for a life on the run. Companies tied to Blue Horizon collapsed, and dozens of executives were indicted. Iron Ridge, under Felicia's leadership, now recovered, committed to full restitution for all affected employees, becoming a model for corporate reform. Months later, I returned to Dayton, but I was no longer Leonard Abrams, the warehouse manager. I was Leonard Abrams, the man who made an entire system tremble. The film 11 Days Before Justice won an Oscar, and my book was translated into 10 more languages. I founded a fund in Helen's name to help older workers sue for justice. Maya Alvarez became its director, and Tommy was named Iron Ridge's Employee of the Year. One afternoon, as I prepared for a new trip to Alaska, I received a letter from a worker in Missouri who wrote, "Mr. Abrams, thanks to you, I won my lawsuit against my company. I can retire with pride." That letter, along with Helen's photo and the wooden plaque from Iron Ridge, was all I needed to keep going. Now, as I drive my RV through open roads, I know my fight is never truly over. But I also know that with every battle, I leave a better world for Jessica, my grandkids, Helen, and the millions of workers who deserve to hear they are valued. Carson Vickery may have tried to steal 27 years of my life, but instead he gave me a greater purpose, proving that no matter who you are, you always have the power to stand up and win.